Welcome back to She Sells, He Sells podcast, where we are here to change the way you think about sales by getting you to look at it in a whole new way. And I'm so pumped to have our guest with me today, Allie Goodbun. Welcome, Allie.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. This is so fun.
Yes, I have been fangirling on Allie for, gosh, I don't know, over a year probably, because I remember all the lead up to the Olympics and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
And I was just telling Allie I have a special interest in her outside of her career as a content creator and a business owner because I grew up dancing. I'm the mom of two dancers. And so seeing her just live out these big dance dreams, like on one of the biggest stages in the world, is so cool. So before we get started, Allie, we always start with a fun fact, something
Mhm.
that's like, people like me that have been watching all your socials might not know about you. And
Yeah.
yours, I feel like, is perfect for someone who lives in Paris. So
Yeah.
can you share that with us?
Yeah. Fun fact about me absolutely has nothing to do with my career or anything, but just a very random fact is I absolutely hate driving on the highway. Hate is a very strong word, but I despise it. It's something that I am so freaked out about. And it's crazy how I can dance in front of thousands of people, yet you put me behind a wheel with just myself in the car, I'd freak out. So it's just something fun.
Not your thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I
No,
would imagine in Paris, I know you bike a lot, right? And walk a
I
lot.
do.
So
I
do you
do.
have
I
a car
do.
there?
No,
No.
no.
So no need.
So I avoid it at all costs, but it's easy in Paris.
Yeah, yeah, perfect, perfect. It's so funny you said dancing on stage in front of thousands. My daughter, who is the dancer, she is working on a summer job and she's been
Hmm.
walking into places to see if they're hiring and she is like so nervous. And I said to her, I'm like, you dance by yourself on a stage in front of hundreds of people. And she's like, it's just different, mom.
It's so different. And something just turns on stage where you just shut out the rest of the world and you don't think about it. Whereas simple tasks like going up to a stranger to ask for a job or whatever that may be is sometimes so much harder. So I totally get it.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk dance first, because from what
Mm.
I understand, that's where your story started. So you've been dancing your whole life. Like, take us up to how did you get here on this like epic
Yeah.
stage?
I started dancing when I was 5, and it was just something one of the many sports my parents just threw me in. I've said this before on other podcasts, but I never had, like, the older sister that danced or the mom that was a dancer or the neighbor that owned the dance studio. Like, there was no connection whatsoever. It was
Mhm.
just kinda like "She loves music, let's give it a shot," and it totally stuck. I played sports my whole life and loved soccer, loved basketball, loved swimming, loved skating, all the basics, but dance was just one of those ones that I just, like, couldn't let go of and I wanted to keep doing more of. So I started in jazz, and that was just kind of a very general genre of dance that a lot of kids at my studio started in. And it kind of grew into all styles of dance very quickly. I got into the whole competition scene, as you know. I did the whole, if you can picture Dance Moms, the TV show, it was that world, but a positive side to it. So lots of traveling around, lots of costumes and dance and it almost like I've built a whole community in the dance world that was kind of like a second family to me. So that stuck around until I was at the age where I moved away for school. And throughout my high school years and into university, I did some other dance opportunities, such as a TV show called The Next Step, which used to be on Family Channel here in Canada. And that moved over to Disney Channel and countries all around the world, and it's a huge show for teenagers. So I did that when I was 15, and that kind of sparked interest in kind of getting into the professional world. That took me into doing some other TV shows and featured roles in some movies, and now we're dancing at the Moulin Rouge in Paris. So it's cool. Just I've just tried to keep the ball rolling since that first TV opportunity I had, and just kept up training and kept up auditioning, and just kind of always seeking the next opportunity that came my way. And I love it, and I think that's kind of what I come back to at the end of the day. Is yes, it's a lot of work, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like work because it's something that I truly love. So.
Yeah, yeah. And it sounds like picture perfect, idyllic, and
Mhm.
this and then this and then this. But obviously, I'm sure there were a lot of bumps in the roads, a lot of rejection, failure. So, what was that part of it like? Was that hard for you to overcome? You come off as like a really happy go lucky, easygoing personality. Were you able to roll with that, or was that something you had to learn?
Yeah, definitely something you have to learn, and especially in the entertainment world, I think it's huge where you get more no's than you do yeses,
Hmm.
for sure. The first time I had, for instance, like the first time I had auditioned for this TV show, it was a hard no. The
Hmm.
second time I auditioned for it, it was a year too tall. Third time I auditioned for it, it was a you need to be able to flip. Couldn't do that because I was too tall. Like there was just so many no's. And then finally, I think it was like my sixth or seventh audition for the exact same show in front of the exact same people doing the exact same dance routine. They were like, hey, let's actually use your height to your advantage. We'll create a character that is self-conscious about her height, and we'll work it into the storyline and we'll build a character off of your unique traits. And I worked on some flips, so I came back to an audition with some flips in my back pocket, and just like something, it was just something that I really wanted. And I think because it was something that I just kept chasing and I kept trying for, the nose didn't matter. It was just kind of like in the back of my head that I would get there. I just didn't know how and when, but I knew it would happen. From that experience alone, that was like a huge learning curve as to like figuring out how you navigate getting so many no's before you get a yes.
Mm.
And that's translated into so many aspects of my life. Like I went to university for kinesiology, which has nothing to do with dance whatsoever, but I had a lot of no's at different universities before I got into the one that I got into. And obviously those no's make you feel like, okay, maybe this isn't the right move. But if you do really care about it and you do really want something, then just takes so many more tries beyond your first, but it will happen one time. So I think just learning that through the dance world has really translated into other avenues of my life. And more importantly, the dance world now as an adult and navigating it as a professional, it's something that's a huge thing that you have to be able to manage. If you're able to handle the no's and see past them and just kind of stay confident in yourself and stay true to what you're doing, something always good comes of it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you shared that story. Thank you for sharing that because it
Oh, of
is
course.
easy to look at someone like you that, and it looks like it just all came together and it had to be easy. And obviously it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't. Would you say that resilience, you were 15, you said when you first got that gig. So
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine the lead up to it, you were even a little bit younger. Was that
Mm-hmm.
resilience something that was innate within you? Were your parents encouraging you? Like, where does that come from at such a young age?
Yeah, I don't know. It's something very interesting that I always try to think about. I don't know where it came from. I think it's more so it stems off of the whole thing that I knew I always wanted to be a professional dancer. And as a kid, when people would ask me what I wanted to be when I was older, I would make up like jobs that were just like standard 9 to 5 jobs that sounded normal and like something that's like achievable, if that makes sense, or like something that I could strive towards that's like a common career,
Hmm.
just to get people to stop asking me, because I knew deep down I wanted to dance, but I can't say I want to dance for Shania or Taylor Swift or whoever it is. Like it just seems so unrealistic, and I just thought that people would roll their eyes whenever I said that, so I never said it. But in the back of my head, I was like, I will be dancing for somebody one day, or I will be dancing on a big stage one day. So it's just something that like I always knew in the back of my head would happen, and I would just work at it myself and kind of stay strong and surpass all the no's that I had to get to that point. But I think it just came from also like watching people, not necessarily people I was close to, but one thing that my mom and I did religiously growing up was go to concerts. That was like our bonding time. So
Hmm.
she would always take me to the Miley Cyrus concert, or at the time it was Hannah Montana, Taylor Swift, Shania Twain. Like we loved music together, and being able to see professional dancers live on a stage was like my encouragement to like, okay, I could do exactly that when I'm older, and
Hmm.
that's what I want to do. So it was honestly just kind of having somebody do it in front of my eyes to be like, okay, it's possible. That is a career path that I could do. That is something that I do want. And I think the resilience just comes from knowing that the job exists. It's there.
Hmm.
It's got to be somebody's job, so it might as well be mine.
Yeah, I love that. It's so good. As you were talking, it made me think of actually my older daughter, who is a senior in high school and getting ready to go to college for film. And the first time we were at a family event and they said, "What do you want to go to college for?" And she said, "Well, I want to go for film. She wants to be like an Academy Award winning director." Everyone, it was like the record scratch of like, what? That's not a real
Yes.
job. And I said to her right after, and this is like, I've since apologized profusely, but I said, just next time, just say journalism. It's just easier. And after the words came out of my mouth, I'm like, I can't believe I said that to her because, it is that temptation of just like, let's make everybody happy by saying something that's going to just make the conversation move on instead of people look at
Yeah.
like you like you're crazy. But I also really
Yeah.
like the idea of getting yourself in front of people who are doing the same thing. And yeah, if other
Yeah.
people can do it, why not you? So the
Yeah.
Moulin Rouge, was that on your radar at all as you were thinking about being a professional dancer?
It was definitely something I had heard of. Of course, everybody knows the name Moulin Rouge, especially from the movie in the early 2000s. Everybody knows what the French can is. Everybody knows the rhythm of that music. So when you kind of explain that, like, that was the birthplace of that music and the can and all the things, like, it sparks something.
Hmm.
I obviously had an idea of what it was, but I didn't really realize it was an ongoing show that's dance based.
Mm.
I knew that there's a lot of Moulin Rouge shows that kind of portray the storyline in the movie, which is just a made up fictional storyline that they've created now into a Broadway show and a West End show and all the things in a touring show. But the actual Moulin Rouge in Paris, France is not that show at all. These shows are simply just taking place at our theater, and ours is like the original theater. It's like the one that's 135 years old. It's the most famous cabaret in the world. And I knew all of these things, but I just didn't exactly know what it entailed until I did the research prior to the audition. And I had quickly learned that it's a very heavy dance show. It's all dancing.
Mm-hmm.
It's music in both French and English. There's some singing parts to it. There's lots of circus attractions that are involved in it. It's kind of like a wow factor show, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's so old, they've obviously had to revamp the show over the course of the past 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
But the current show has been running since the year I was born, which is crazy.
Oh my God.
So it's a 25-year-old show, and it's something that has just been ongoing and continues to sell out for its history and its ability to keep its traditions, I guess, with the French can still involved in the show. And the costumes are amazing. And it's, like I said, it's a wow factor show. You go and you just can't believe that they're able to put on a show on a stage with all these dancers. So I didn't really know what all this entailed, or that all of this existed at the Moulin still to this day, until I did the research prior to the audition. And once I found that they cast specifically tall dancers, they like to cast from abroad. They like to have a diverse array of dancers from all different backgrounds, which is amazing. So they're not just hiring French girls from down the street. They're trying to get the Canadians, the Australians, the Europeans, the English. Like, they want the mix because it's a it's a world-class show. So they want to be able to bring in all countries and all nationalities into the cast itself, which is amazing. So that kind of sparked my interest as well. And knowing that the show was very dance-based was a huge plus for me, because yes, I had theater training and acting training and singing down the line somewhere in my childhood. It wasn't necessarily my area of expertise. So as much dancing as I could get in a show was the best option. So it just really spoke to me, and I went to the audition and never looked back.
Did you book it right away?
I went to, unlike many auditions where I have to do it multiple times, I went to the audition because they were actually touring in Canada. The directors were of Moulin. And I went to one of their auditions on the West Coast and flew out there literally just for the night, went to the audition the next day, didn't know a soul in the room. I just gave it my all. And at the end of the audition, the director came over to me and whispered, "Don't book anything else. You'll hear from us." And it just kind of left me feeling really good, because I'd been to so many auditions in the past where it was kind of like a maybe, but we need this, or you should do this and then come back to us in a year. I just had so many no's in the past that it was so crazy to go to an audition, literally not knowing too much about it other than the fact that there's cartwheels, jump splits, and high kicks, and I'm going to do it all in heels and we'll just see how it goes. And it was a very positive outcome. So on that flight home, I just remember feeling so like over the moon, being like, that is so crazy how I just walked into that audition, gave it my all, didn't really think too hard about it, and here we are with a potential job on my hands. I was just kind of waiting for them to contact me when the time would come.
Wow.
6 months later, they offered me a contract, and unfortunately that lined up with the pandemic. So I was actually on pause for 2 years like the rest of the world was. But when the theater opened up again, I had a job, which was amazing.
That's so cool. So talk to me a little bit about like walking into that audition, but really any audition. While most of our listeners probably can't relate to the dance audition, everybody I think can relate to the idea of like a big opportunity where you feel like, gosh, this is my shot and I really want to nail it. But then the nerves creep in and sometimes self-doubt creeps in. Do you have any sort of routines or mantras or ways you kind of get your head right when you move into a big opportunity like that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I feel like people always have their routines. For me, being rested and fueling and like the preparation that goes into before actually arriving at the audition, or even if we're taking this like as an interview or of any sort, just feeling my most prepared and my best self, I think is my biggest thing. I've just been to so many auditions where I don't feel prepared. I don't feel well rested. I haven't had the right breakfast. I've been in that situation, and I just know my performance is just that much weaker because I don't come in fully prepared as Allie. Whether that's for a TV show or Moulin Rouge or whatever that is. And I just remember the Moulin Rouge audition, I had heard about the audition a week prior. So I hadn't had that much time to overthink it too much. I knew that I was going to Vancouver, so I didn't know any other dancers in the room. So I wasn't comparing myself to my friend on the other side or whatever that was. I was solely just like in my own head, in a bubble, doing my thing, not paying attention to anybody else in the room because I didn't know them. I had heard about the show, of course, but again, I didn't know too much about it. And I had done so much research on the show and what moves I would have to be doing in the audition and like what I would need to be showing them to qualify for the role. But beyond that, there's only so much you can find on YouTube of a live performance show. So I was really just going off of my own skill. I was there to be there. And if it didn't work out, the worst thing they were going to say is no, like all the other auditions. And I was just there to give it my best shot. So I feel like because I walked into that audition feeling well rested, prepared, not overthinking it, just kind of doing my thing and giving it all I had was, I know that's a very general advice, but it's just, it's what works for me. And I think not overthinking it is my biggest thing and just kind of giving it your all.
Yeah, yeah. And the preparedness. And I loved how you said you didn't
Mm-hmm.
know anyone else there, so you weren't comparing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's such a huge part of what gets in our head when we start like looking to the left and to the right and
Exactly.
figuring out where we measure up. So good. So you booked it, you waited a bit, pandemic, got to the Moulin Rouge, moved to Paris. Had you ever been to
Mm-hmm.
Paris? Like, what was it like leaving Canada and moving abroad at a young
Mm-hmm.
age?
Yes, I was 22 at the time.
Yeah.
It's been 3 years now, and I feel like, yeah, it's obviously a huge thing to move across the world to dance, let alone dance at the Moulin Rouge. But I had been to Paris before. I actually went on a graduation trip with my high school. We had done a little bit of Europe stints, and we finished in Paris for 5 days. So I had been in Paris for 5 days, done all the tourist stuff, had seen the places. But it's so crazy when I think back to that trip, or at the time when I was moving, whenever I think back to that trip, the last thing during that trip was me thinking that I was going to be living here one day, which is so crazy to think back to because
Really?
I was just thinking, this is great. I'll have the experience of traveling Europe. I think I was 16 at the time.
Right.
And now I'll be able to travel back to Europe as an adult and kind of know it that much better and whatever else and go to the spots that I really liked. But I never once thought, oh, maybe I'd live here one day. So that's crazy to kind of reflect back on. But one of the main things I remember of my Paris trip was going to Montmartre, which is the neighborhood that Moulin Rouge is situated in, as well as the neighborhood I live in. And it's crazy because I can literally only remember the times of me walking past a certain bakery. We ate lunch at a certain restaurant and we walked to the big church, the basilica that's in that neighborhood. And those are like the few moments I remember from that trip. And that's like the exact street. I live above that restaurant now. And like the bakery, I get my baguettes at every Sunday. Like it's such a thing where it's like so weird how that works out. It's like, I don't remember where the hotel was. I don't remember any other details. I literally just remember the few basics. And now I live that street and walk past it every single day. So it's crazy to think back on, but I'm so happy that I went as a teenager and now I'm able to kind of be there as an adult, but also experience it as a local.
Yeah, yeah. So you're in a new country did you speak French at all before you got there?
I don't. As a Canadian, though, we do learn it in school. So, like, I have a basic understanding of numbers, colors, all
Yeah.
the things, but to hold a conversation, not at all. So, that was a huge learning curve, of course. And then you have to think about even just the cultural differences.
Right.
Language is one thing, but even just like everybody in Paris is a night owl. Everybody stays up late. Everybody wakes up late. Whereas I'm so used to getting up at 7:30 for my workout and very North American of me and wearing my Lululemon out on the streets and driving my car to the grocery store. Like there's so many things that I'm just like, I wasn't used to at all. So I had to really change the way life was just in general, staying up later, waking up later, eating later in the day, shopping at boulangeries like the local bakeries instead of having the big grocery store where everything's just a one-stop shop. You have to go to the fruit and veggie market, then you have to go to the bakery, and then you have to go to all the different places. There's so many little aspects to it that you just don't really consider until you get there and you're like,
Yeah.
wow, life is so different over here.
Yeah, yeah, a huge adjustment. And I think that is probably a big part of what is so fascinating about following you, at least for me, because you're just like, feels like a totally different world beyond the
It
Mulan,
does.
but all of it. So the content creation part of your journey, like when did that start to creep in? Was there a tipping point that like a video that went viral? Talk to me about how all of that started.
Yeah. So I actually never, I was in that group of people that was like, I am not getting on TikTok. I don't
No
need another
way.
app to scroll on. I was a part of that group for the whole pandemic. And I feel like TikTok really
Hmm.
like got off its feet in the pandemic because
Hmm.
of the dance trends and people had all the time in the world to just be on this app making videos. And I just wasn't. I was like, I don't need another app. I have Instagram. That's all I need. And then when I got to Paris, I realized that this was now the era of, rather than it being the dance trends on TikTok, it was now the more like speaking videos. And I resonated with that a little bit more because it got my attention just that much more. There was a video that I saw on Instagram and it was this person that I guess was bigger on TikTok. And I really liked their videos and they did a lot of day in the life, I guess you could say. So they talked about, I don't know, she was a dancer and she was talking about her day in the life at the theater and all these things or whatever. And then I started to see more and more of them, but like people from all different careers. Like this man was a garbage man. I remember seeing this garbage man's day in the life. And then I saw somebody that was like a lawyer, their day in And it was just like all these day in the life videos started popping up, and I was like, huh, this is interesting. And then I ended up downloading TikTok, and I got onto that side of things, and I realized TikTok was all over this daily life, daily vlog thing, and people were chatting to the camera, and just the outreach on TikTok is just so much bigger. There's so many people on that app, and I just had never realized. So I decided to obviously download it, and then I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe if I just film my day in the life, it would be kind of fun. And I was also looking for a little bit of a creative outlet because I used dance throughout university. Obviously, I was studying kinesiology at the time, so I wasn't dancing during the day, and then like my creative outlet and my hobby was going to the dance studio at night. And now because I was dancing for my job, I didn't necessarily want to spend my free time dancing. I wanted to be doing something else. And I really struggled about a year into living in Paris to find that. I had seen all the things. I'd explored every corner of the city. I knew the city like the back of my hand. And that's kind of what I spent the first year doing. Beyond that, I didn't really have another hobby other than dance to kind of fall back on. And I do remember loving making little iMovies as a kid and doing all that. So I was like, hey, maybe if I resort to making some TikToks, it could fill my time. It could also be something creative. So I ended up filming a day in my life at work one night. And I remember knowing that nobody else at Moulin Rouge was filming. Like that was not a thing. Nobody was a content creator. Nobody was filming a day in the life. It was kind of not like a secret, but a little bit of a secret. Like nobody knew what went on behind the curtain.
Right.
Yet everybody knew what Moulin Rouge was. So I was like, okay, not that I can use this for leverage, but in a sense, like people are interested. I think if I share fun facts, keeping it respectful, I'm not showing anybody else's face. Nobody else that works there needs to be in my videos. I don't need to be showing costumes or sharing any deep secrets. I just need to be saying like, hey, did you know we climb 40 flights of stairs to our dressing rooms every night throughout the shows? Or did you know we actually have 10 costume changes and we do 2 shows a night? So that's 20 costume changes a night. Like there's all these little facts that people just don't know, but are so interested in. So I included that in my daily vlog. I remember I went home at the end of the night, which is 2 a.m. for us. I edited it and I posted it the next day as my little my not hobby, but just something to do. Posted it and I left it and I kind of forgot about it. And I went back to it the next day and there was 3.2 million views. And I was like, what
Your
the
first
heck
TikTok.
did I just do? And I could not believe it. I was like, no way, this has to be wrong. And then I go on my profile and I had gained like 100K followers. And I was like, I have one video. I don't even think I had a profile picture at the time. I had no bio. It was just this one daily vlog that I just did for fun. And I was like, okay. So then after that, I just decided to make some Paris content and a little bit more dance content and some more Mulan content. And it just kind of started from there, but it wasn't anything I planned. It was just kind of like I love making videos. And after that day, I was like, this is actually kind of fun. It also took my mind off of the everyday work schedule of kind of doing the same thing every day. So I was able to kind of see it from a different perspective because I was talking about fun facts or little things that people wouldn't know, but they'd be interested in, like the stairs and costume changes and whatnot. And it was just kind of like something fun that I added to my days, like naturally. And it just kind of came to be a whole separate job, I guess you could say. And now it's like a full-time job for me. So it's been something fun that's evolved over the course of the past 2 years, but I absolutely love it.
That's crazy that your first video, like what a start,
It's
start with a
wild.
bang. What I really love too, though, is that even though you didn't expect that from the first video, what I'm hearing is that you were super intentional about your process and the way you showed up. It wasn't like, let me just film a quick thing and throw it up there. You were really thinking through what would be interesting and no one else is doing this. So it was strategic in a way and brilliant, and then took off. When you woke up that next day and checked it out, was there any part of you that was like, oh no, what did I do? Like I went from being kind of anonymous to now everybody knows, not everybody, but 100,000 people know who I am.
Yeah. Yes and no in a sense. I feel like it didn't scare me, I guess you could say, just because I had the experience on the TV show as a kid and I kind of understood. We had like lots of media training, I guess you could say. So I kind of understood what you share and what you don't share and be careful with what's in the background and what you say. And once you give your opinion on something, that's something for people to judge. And like, so I know that there's certain things that you say and you don't do and whatever. And I always kept that in mind from day one when I was a 15-year-old, when I had that first big blast of social media stuff and whatever that was with the TV show. So I kind of carried with me throughout the years without even knowing. And then when I did this, I obviously kept it in mind because I was like, okay, if this does happen to do well, I also want there to be good reputation on the back end of things, of course. And I don't want there to be anything that obviously that's disrespectful for Moulin Rouge as a brand or anything like that. So I really was conscious of that. But it's just, yeah, it's crazy to think like I was just expecting it to be something that I was just going to do for fun for myself. Literally, I wasn't posting it for the views at all, and I wasn't paying attention to the views on other daily vlogs.
Mm-hmm.
I just had noticed that that was like the majority of the videos, so I didn't even clock that that was what was doing well. There was honestly no strategy, I guess you could say, behind it, but there was. I just wasn't realizing that there
Yeah.
was. So it's yeah, it's funny to look back to now, and I'm just happy from the get go. I understood what you share and what you don't share. So there's nothing that's like to worry about, I
Or
guess you could
cover it
say
up.
now.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
archive it or delete it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
good. Because that first format worked so well, did you lean into more day in the lives in the beginning? Like, was it like, all right, this works, let me do more? Or were you trying
Mm-hmm.
to diversify your content right away? What were you thinking as you
Yeah.
continued to grow?
So right away when that video took off, I was like, okay, this is my cue to do more. So I just started filming random stuff here and there, posting it on TikTok. And about 2 months in, a management company reached out to me, and they're actually my managers and like my team now, and they help me coordinate all things social media and organize brand deals and whatever else. And once they kind of got into my inbox, I was like, okay, this is actually like a thing. Like people can make a living off of doing videos, which is insane.
Mm-hmm.
From there, I really realized that there is a strategy behind it. And I was like, okay, let's, with them, they were the ones that were kind of like, okay, let's look at like what you're good at. What do you like filming? What comes natural to you? What do you enjoy filming? And then after that conversation, I actually kind of realized that, okay, there's a difference between the dance videos and the chatting videos and the day in the life videos or the short trending videos. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's different types of videos. And I feel like lots of people that are outside of the creator, the influencer world don't really realize it in a sense, but certain people like watching certain videos. And personally, for me, my entire For You page is people talking about something.
Mm-hmm.
There's no dance videos. There's no like tips and tricks. Like it's not that. It's something that people are like, this is my job and this is what I'm doing. And da-da-da. It's like almost like a how to or like a story time or a let me take you along.
Mm-hmm.
And I gravitate towards watching that. So I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to create because I watch the most of that, the majority of that, and I understand how a video like that is made. So I really stuck to that. And majority of my videos now, I'm just chatting to the camera or I'm walking on the streets of Paris and you can see the buildings in the back and I'm talking about this tourist attraction or this spot or this bike route or whatever. And not that I'm giving how-to things, but I'm just kind of like bringing them along for my day, I guess you could say. And that's kind of my style. It's more natural. And I was talking to a friend about this earlier, and I think that's why I find it enjoyable still. It's like it comes off natural to me. It's not forced. I'm not planning content. I'm literally just whenever I feel like whipping out my camera, I whip it out and I post it. That's it. There's not too much detail or in-depth thought that goes into it. And I think that's why people have resonated with it really well, is because my strategy is just honestly being myself. And when I feel like filming, I'll film, and then it comes off in my video that I'm actually enjoying myself, if that makes sense. It's not like something that seems forced or planned or scripted. It's just kind of like almost like you're on FaceTime with me while walking the streets.
Yeah, I totally agree. As a viewer, that is what makes you fall in love with you, because it feels like you're a real person that you can imagine meeting in real life. What would you say? So you don't have any rules around like, I need to post 3 times a week or any of that kind of stuff. Am I right?
No, I really just try to stick to, if I feel like filming, I film. If I don't, I don't. I find that now, because it is a second job for me in a sense, and I do find that I don't feel the pressure of posting obviously that much, but there are days where I'm like, okay, if I have a free hour, let's put something together. I do really try to focus on getting content out just because that is something that I've committed to now myself. But at the same time, I'm not one of those creators that's like, I need to have 3 videos up today or whatever. I have to realize that, okay, I have to have a little bit of socializing and social life and just living is like, and not just going from backstage to filming to editing to posting to there's so much going on, but it's something that I do try to keep up as much as I can.
So let's talk about like the actual semantics of it all, how it all works. So are you feeling like, do you ever feel yourself in that push and pull of, I want to just be and live my life and enjoy, versus, oh, this would be like really great content, I want to capture it? How are you balancing that?
Yeah, I feel this is like the question of the century, because it's so hard. That's such a hard thing to balance, especially in today's day and age. It's like, I want to share everything I'm doing, and you obviously want to share the highlights of your life. That's what everybody's social media profiles are, of course. But there are moments where I'm like, okay, I am on vacation right now with my fiance in where or whatever it is, and I just need to be like, the phone, it does not matter. This is like if I want to post something, sure. If something funny of this comes, sure. But like, I don't feel pressured to make a daily vlog of me at the beach with my fiance. Like, there are days where I just need to have a break. And I do remind myself sometimes of that. And sometimes I even think forward and I'll be like, okay, if I'm going on vacation next week, let's film 3 videos at Moulin Rouge this week so that while I'm on vacation, I can post that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of like making up for the stuff that I don't need to be filming next week, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
sometimes I like to film in a chunk and then have stuff in my drafts just to post whenever I don't feel like actually filming in real time. But yeah, it's definitely something that I have to like evaluate. And that's the only type of planning, I guess you could say, in that sense. But there are like also some days where I just wake up and I'm like, I'm tired today. I'm not feeling it. I just need to like be by myself, not be
Mm-hmm.
thinking about what it looks like from a content perspective, and just kind of enjoy and reset. And then usually when I have those days, the following day, I'm like so ready to get going on some more content. So I know that it always pays off to fuel me for the next days, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, because it's such a it takes so much creative energy, and I think if your internal and creative energy isn't aligned with what you're trying to produce, that's where content definitely falls flat. I know that in my own experience as well. What about like the dirty underbelly that everybody's so scared of with social media? So I work with lots of entrepreneurs who are really fearful of putting themselves out there because of what people will think or say. A lot of times it's the people that you know in your own real life, not even so much the strangers on the internet. So what's your experience been really twofold with the people in your own circle? How have they been with all of this? And then strangers on the internet, how's
Yeah.
that worked out for you?
Yeah, I'm honestly safe to say I'm very, very lucky that I don't produce content in a sense that creates judgment. I
Mm-hmm.
think something I learned way back when I was doing TV stuff is like the second you put your opinion out there, then people have their opinions that they can compete with. And then that's where the controversy starts. That's where the judgment starts. That's where people paint a picture as to like, yes, you're this type of person, but also you think this. Whereas people, I try to bring people along in my content, and I try to keep it as lighthearted as possible, where if you really deep dive into my videos, you'll never see a piece of opinion whatsoever. I just try to keep it very surface level. I just try to show interesting things that people might be interested in. I say it as it is. Sometimes I like talk about how I'm feeling or what's going on or like updates, but I don't necessarily give opinions about things where people would be able to clap back. And I feel like because I've stayed away from that, I've actually created a social media community where they're just supportive, which is insane. And I feel like very few creators can say that, because a lot of times there's very much two
Mm-hmm.
pools of you've got the people that are the supporters, but then the people that are following that are obviously the haters and the ones that are watching from afar and not engaging. So
Mm-hmm.
from an online perspective, I'm very lucky to have that situation. And then in my real life, friends, my closest friends, they're more than supportive. Like I said, and the majority of my videos are just myself. So I don't really include people in my videos. So I don't really feel the pressure of needing to get their permission to be in videos or loop them in or get their time, ask them to put their time towards filming anything with me. But also from a family standpoint, I don't really film with my family just because I do think that there has to be some part of my life that's private. So I try to keep like family and friends, I guess, are my private thing that I just keep for myself. But overall, people understand that it's like now kind of turned into a job for me. And when I am on my phone editing, I'm not scrolling, I'm not ignoring people. I'm literally just working.
Working.
Yeah. And it's just like a little bit of a side hustle that I've created for myself. And I think my closest friend group understands that completely, and especially the girls in Paris, like they see me doing it the most, and they're like sisters to me in a sense. So we all just kind of understand what we're doing and what our kind of side hustles or side hobbies are, because we're just dancing every day or every night, I guess you could say. We fill our days doing something totally different from one another. So that's kind of my outlet, but everybody has their own thing and they all respect it in a way, which is amazing. So I just try to reciprocate that back in every way I can, so it continues on. But I just feel like your closest friends will always be supportive and understanding of something like that. And if they're not your closest friends.
Exactly. So you said just now, and then you said a little bit earlier about keeping your opinions off the internet, which
Mm-hmm.
this is, we're living in a very interesting time where everybody has an opinion, and, a lot of people are sharing them publicly. Would that be a piece of
Mm-hmm.
advice you would give to content creators or aspiring content creators?
Yeah, I think, again, I think I'm in a position where I'm able to create content on something that's interesting because I have not that set up for me, but in a sense, I live in a little bit of a picture book. Like I
Mm-hmm.
live on the cobblestone streets. I'm able to use that as content. Whereas I feel like sometimes when people don't find that interesting something that's easy to just be like, okay, people would watch that or people would be interested in that, they lean on ideas and things in the news and that's kind of their way to get people's attention, is putting their opinion out there. So I feel like there's two sides of content. It's like, I feel like the really good content creators are the ones that can pull a niche or an interesting something. Anybody has something interesting about them. You just have to find what it is. And I find that mine is, of course, moving abroad. Mine is, of course, becoming a professional dancer and having a career that's unusual, I guess you could say, and loving it and being able to kind of feel fulfilled with that. Whereas I feel like some people use their opinions as a way to capture people's attention, which in my opinion is fine. But at the same time, I think a good creator finds something interesting and they leave their opinions offline for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. I am definitely following your school of thought as well. And what you said earlier, like you were watching a garbage person, like a garbage
Mhm.
sanitation worker doing a day in the
Yeah.
life. So I think there's something interesting in everyone's day. You don't need to be in a picture book and dancing at the Moulin to find it. So let's talk a little bit about like advice for content creators. I
Mhm.
had shared with you earlier, most of our audience are entrepreneurs or
Mhm.
aspiring entrepreneurs. A lot of times people are coming to business because they have a great product or service and they just want to like get that thing out there. And then they realize, oh, shoot, now I have to like show up on Instagram or TikTok. So for someone like that, that is not a natural content creator or really hasn't
Mhm.
done much of it, do you have some tips or advice on a good place to start for that person?
Yeah, I feel like this is such a tricky thing because you have to honestly look at social media in a different way when you own a business or you want to use it to monetize a product or you want to use it for marketing, I guess you could
Mhm.
say. And for me, for instance, I started social media first. So I kind of got that down to a science. And I realized, okay, how do I grow an audience? How do I engage with a community of people I've never met? How do I keep things interesting for them? I figured that out first. And then I moved to the business side of things where I started my brand called Ready Freddy, and I use my social media as like a marketing tool for that, and I'm able to monetize my product off of social media, I guess you could
Mhm.
say. And I feel like sometimes, like you mentioned, it is backwards. People, they have a business and then they realize that social media is the piece of it that needs to market that product or whatever.
Mhm.
And then sometimes people are just obviously new to social media and they want to monetize their videos and become a content creator from nothing.
Mhm.
And I feel like the biggest piece of advice, and I kind of mentioned this prior, is to really deep dive and realize what type of videos you like to watch personally, and then use that as inspiration to create something of your own. And I feel like for me, watching The Garbage Man, I saw his day in the life video and I was like, okay, I really don't care what a garbage man does in a day in the life, but for some reason he's got my attention. What is he doing in this video that makes me interested in this? Because
Mhm.
one, I have no relationship to garbage, like I don't know anybody that's a garbage man. One, I'm not working towards becoming one myself. I don't even interact with mine in Paris. It's like I have nothing here, but I'm like, why am I watching this? And it was the fact that he had so much personality in his video. He was so fun and uplifting, yet it was like he was putting the timestamps on his videos. So it was
Mhm.
such an early hour of the morning. I was like, how the heck is this guy up at 4:30 collecting garbage and listening to he was listening to like Britney Spears on the back of his truck. And like, I was just like, this is so crazy. But he just had so much personality and he was like so engaging with the camera. His editing was amazing. Like it really, short clips really got my attention. It was changing angles all the time. He was always doing something. So I realized that that's the type of video that I like to watch. So now in my content, I just try to replicate that as much as I can in my own way. So now when you see me backstage, you'll sometimes see my camera looking into the mirror and then it switches to my face and then it switches to
Mhm.
me getting my costume on and then it switches to me going down the stairs and you can kind of see it almost feels like you're in the room with me.
Mhm.
And I love that feeling. So whenever I'm watching content, I really just try to not just watch it for the sake of entertaining myself and enjoying it, but I really like to dissect what about the content there is there that has caught my eye. And I'm going to try to replicate that in my own way. For instance, for my business, I use social media, like I said, to indirectly market that. And I kind of go to other small business pages and I go, okay, what have they done to emphasize the product that they're selling, and how do they put that into video format? And then I watch it and I go, okay, they have it on a rack, they're feeling with their hands. Let me do that too. So then I put my
Mhm.
product on a rack, and I just see what catches my eye in every way, and I just try to use that as inspiration.
Yeah, that's such good advice because if it is catching your eye, there's something about it that feels authentic to you. So looking at what do I like and can I embody that myself? That's so good. I really want to find the garbage man TikTok too. I'm definitely looking
I
for that
know.
when we get off. So you mentioned Ready Freddy. When did that company become like when did you birth it essentially?
Yeah.
Also, tell us a little bit about it for someone who doesn't know anything about it.
Yeah. So Ready Freddy is a dancewear, loungewear brand that I started about a year and a half ago with one of my best friends. She's a professional dancer as well. And we were working and dancing in Paris together when we started the company. And since then, she's moved back to Australia. So we actually now do a long distance business partner situation, and it works really well for us. But we've grown over the past year and a half to something that we never even anticipated. But we've always had a little business savvy mindset behind the both of us, with me kind of doing social media and her coming from a very business savvy background with her family all owning businesses of different sorts and her partner being a business owner. She just really had an edge for it as well. And we bonded off of that kind of right away a few years ago. And then we came up with this idea to have we both wore these warm-up onesies backstage or at dance classes when we were younger, and I forgot about them. Like that was like in the early 2000s, and we kind of forgot about them. And then when I got to Paris, I realized that all the girls backstage were wearing them, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have not even considered having that as an adult. I think the last time I had that, I was 3 feet tall. I was so young. I was just like fresh into dance, and I had never thought about the benefits of having a comfy onesie that you could just slip on, and it would obviously cover your whole body, but it just had straps. So the whole idea was to keep obviously yourself warm and comfortable, but getting ready backstage, you obviously need an outfit to wear while you're doing your hair and makeup, and then you need something to take off, but it doesn't go over your head to ruin your hair and makeup. So that was kind of our biggest like epiphany. We were like, what the heck? And all these girls were wearing them. We were like, where did they get them from? And the idea came from ex-dancer's mom had brought them to the backstage in Paris. And I was like, okay, so this was a thing. Everybody has one here. It was made by a mom who's no longer making them now. We kind of need somebody fresh, and I wanted one myself. That was the whole thing, because I was a new dancer there and I couldn't find where to get one. I searched online high and low for this comfy onesie to just slip on that had no zippers, no buttons, no nothing. And it would just be something I could wear backstage in between costume changes as well and whatever else. And I could not find it. So I just decided to make it myself and kind of recreated it and brought it to life with my best friend Georgia. And since then, we've been just trying to grow it as much as possible. And we've kind of entered this whole business world without even really having proper experience, but we've just had to teach ourselves over the past few years what goes into marketing a product, and how do you get somebody's attention with something like this, or how do you navigate the clothing world and manufacturing and all the details that go into something like this. So it's been quite the journey, but it's been really fun to navigate with somebody that's also kind of on the same level as me, and we're kind of navigating it together. And believe it or not, we're using YouTube videos, TikTok videos, people we know in the business world on kind of all sides to just get advice and network as much as possible. And we created a business out of it.
That's amazing. When you said you created the one, you wanted it, so you created it yourself. Did you literally sew it yourself? Like, what do you mean by that?
No, so I had realized that everybody around me had this onesie, and I was like, okay, this is a great idea. I had one of these 20 years ago, and I haven't even thought to get it since. And when I searched high and low on the internet for it, I could not find it. So I asked one of the seamstresses at Moulin to make me one, and I paid her. She made me one, and it was good, but it wasn't. There were so many pieces to it that I wanted to change. I was like, this needs to be longer. This needs to be wider. There needs to be pockets. This needs to be way more stretchy. The straps need to be like. There were so many things that I wanted to change. So I literally drew up a sketch with proper measurements to proper things, added some details, and with my friend Georgia, we were just like, okay, let's find some manufacturers. No idea how to find a manufacturer, so we went on YouTube to figure out how other people were doing it.
Wow.
Found some advice there, and we kind of just searched high and low. We finally found one that we loved. We got in touch with her on WhatsApp, and since then she's been our manufacturer ever since. She kind of made us a few samples, and we fell in love with them, and we kind of put our different skill sets to the test. I am a little bit more of the creative one. I love making videos. I'm really good with logo design and making a website and doing all the things like the customer would see. Whereas Georgia's really good at the back end or the back end side of things. So she kind of handles all the communications in the backside, and I do all the stuff that is kind of on the forefront. And it's just balanced each other out. And from that first original sample that we loved, we just kind of took it and ran with it. And now we have 11 colors. We have kid sizes. We have 4 collections. We have a marketing team. We have a press team. We have all these little bits and pieces that we've just added over the time. But it's been so fun to work on something like this with somebody else.
Yeah. Wow. The like big theme that I'm hearing from you, really from learning about you as a young person, and then landing the first gig into Mulan, into content creation, into Ready Freddy's, is just the idea of like jumping in and figuring it out as you go. Obviously, have the pieces of the puzzle prepared as much as you can, but I think that's such an important lesson for our listeners, especially to hear, because a lot of times, one of my key things that I tell my clients is you don't need a business plan. And people are like, what? That's crazy. But I really think we can get so bogged down in like planning everything and not doing it. And I'm hearing like you're just jumping in and doing.
Yeah. And like to this day, we worked on it for about a year and a half before it even reached any type of social media of any sort. We had no website, we had nothing for about a year and a half. We finally launched it, and now it's been in business for about a year and a half. So in the past 3 years of working on this brand with her, we still don't have a business plan yet. It's gotten so much more. It's been so successful, and it's been something that I treat as a third full-time job in my opinion. And it's also been a little bit of a creative something that I'm able to work on and call my own, which is nice. And it's also really just nice to know when I feel like I'm done dancing and I can hang up my dance shoes, I have something to fall back on and work towards that I've already been building for the past few years. And I always think back to if I was waiting to make a business plan, I don't even know what a business plan includes, yet I call myself a business owner. I'm like, if I was waiting to do that, it would be 3 years later and I still wouldn't have started this. So it's just crazy to think if you just, like you said, jump in and just give it your all and have a vision, you just need to execute it and just start. I think that's the main thing.
Yeah. I always say ready is a decision, not a feeling. So you decide you're going to get going and you do it. So as we start to wrap up, these three big buckets, you're a full-time dancer, you're a full-time content creator, you're a full-time business owner. I believe balance is a myth, but you do need to be juggling. So how are you making all of it work? Do you have like a set schedule, or is it really based on what you need at any given time?
I think the way I'm able to juggle all three of these things is two of them I'm able to kind of do whenever I'd like. The more work I put into content creation and my business, the better they'll do, of course. But the other one, obviously dancing at Moulin Rouge, that's a set schedule. So I have somewhere to be at a certain time, 6 days a week. We dance 2 shows every night. It's a hectic schedule to begin with, but I'm very lucky in a sense that it is at night. So I actually have every day, all day to 1, sleep, but 2, work on whatever I'd like I kind of mentioned with content creation, the way I think I keep enjoying it and keep it interesting for myself is that I don't force a schedule for that stuff. Whenever I feel like filming, I'll film. Whenever I feel like editing, I'll edit. Whenever I feel like working on Ready Freddy, I work on it. I don't like to add pressure to be like, this is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and this is Tuesday, Thursday, because then you get bogged down in this feeling of like, you have to do it and you have this pressure of doing it. And I think that's where the joy of it comes out. Whereas I feel like if I just let the ball kind of roll on its own, and if I work on it as I want to, I stay excited about it. And I feel like when you're excited about something, that's kind of where the happiness comes out. And
Totally.
it's a way of being excited about something that you're working towards. And like I said, the more work you put in, the more success you'll see from it. So I just kind of keep that in the back of my head. And whenever I have a free second, I am someone that has no subscriptions to any streaming services. Like I don't spend my nights streaming stuff. I spend my days working on things, or when I want to sit down on the couch and just scroll on my phone rather than scrolling, I edit. So I am using my time a little bit more wisely, I feel like, in that sense, or my free time, I guess you could say. But I think I'm only doing that because I'm not necessarily on my computer hours on end working on something because I have to, or making a schedule like that. So it's just when I feel like it, but I have to just keep in mind the work that goes into it really matters.
How do you relax? What do you do to relax?
I'm a big spa person. My fiance he works in the health and fitness side of things and studied kinesiology as well. So we kind of bond over the whole wellness sector of life. And he's a huge spa goer. He loves a massage. He loves going to have a date night or a date day at a spa somewhere or whatever else. So whenever we travel, that's like our main thing is, do they have a nice spa? Is there a thing? So he's really taught me the benefits of like having a membership somewhere that has a steam room and a sauna, and somewhere where you can just like unwind and you cannot have your phone obviously with you. And that's like my way to unwind. So I currently have a membership at a gym near my place that has all the amenities and such. So whenever I'm there, I know it's like a content-free zone. There's no phone, there's no distractions. It's just me and myself and I just get to actually unwind and unplug. But that's definitely needed for a schedule that's a little bit hectic like this. And you kind of have to juggle because you have to have those moments of like, okay, you have to unplug, like refresh, do all the things you need to do to fuel yourself for more work to come.
Yeah. And no phones allowed is brilliant. Because it's so
exactly
when it's like across the room and you're just like, oh, let me just do this.
I know.
So last thing, Allie, say there's someone who's listening. You've these 3 huge things that for a lot of people just feel like a dream. I think many of us have a lot of ideas, but we're scared to begin. Do you have like a parting thought or advice for someone that maybe is standing on the edge of something big, but just can't quite get started?
I feel like kind of what you said with the whole like feeling ready. It's different. It's like, it's not a decision, or it's not a feeling it's a decision. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
It's like you have to decide when you're ready. And I feel like this kind of goes hand in hand with that in a sense where rather than like waiting for the opportunity to just like be handed to you, you have to kind of go for it. I feel like I wouldn't have started a business if I didn't just go for it. I would, if I was dwelling on the fact that I didn't go to school for business and I didn't know how to do this and I didn't know how to manage, like if I was thinking about that, I would never feel ready. I would still be just thinking about the idea and it wouldn't be out there in the world. If I would have just waited for the Moulin Rouge audition to come to my hometown rather than me travel across the country to go to it. Like I seek that audition, or I seek the opportunity for myself, I guess, and kind of made it happen for myself. And I think that's so important because I feel like, especially now in today's day and age, people just wait for things to be handed to them. And it's like, no, it doesn't really work like that. And of course, obviously there's luck involved in some ways, of course, but I feel like the majority of things, if you want something, you really just have to go after it. And the biggest way to do that is to just seek out the opportunities for yourself. There will always be an opportunity somewhere, and there's always a way to do something. You just have to figure out how. And if you wait for it to come to you, it may never come. So
Yeah.
it's my biggest piece of advice.
Yeah, great parting thoughts. This was such a treat to be able to talk to you. You are even more lovely in person than you seem to be
Thank
online.
you.
I always think that's like the true test of someone when you're like the outside version, the shiny social media version actually matches who they are. And that is 100% you. So why don't you tell everybody where to find you and also how they can check out Ready Freddy?
Yeah, thanks so much. You can follow me personally at Allie Goodbun on Instagram and TikTok. And then my brand Ready Freddy is at www.readyfreddyshop.com or at Ready Freddy Shop on Instagram and TikTok.
Amazing. I'm going to tell all the dance moms about that because I am living in dance moms, but also a
Yes.
positive version. So yeah, we need some of those. Thank you again,
I
Allie,
love
so
it.
much for being
Thank you,
here.
Krista. I
And
appreciate it.
yeah, we'll see everybody next week.